In this video, we briefly talk about Arnold shader network. As we spend most of our time in this shading section of the course in an Arnold shader network, it is essential that we know how to use it. Shader network is where you connect nodes to create simple to very complex shaders in Arnold. To create an Arnold shader network, in the Material Manager, create menu, extensions, and then click on Arnold shader network. And now a new shader network is created and opened, and now you can start developing shaders here. For example, I can search for a standard surface shader, which is the main shader in Arnold in the shader tree, and add it to the work area in the middle. And now as we don't have any other nodes, the standard surface will be connected automatically to the Arnold Beauty port. Imagine if we had a few standard surface shaders here in the work area, only the shader that is connected to the beauty port will be visible in your render. Now, if we close the shader network, like any other materials or shaders in Cinema 4D, to apply this shader or material to any geometry, simply drag and drop it on that geometry. You probably use some of the Arnold shaders more frequently than others. That's why in the Create menu, there is this Arnold menu containing some of the Arnold shaders. And you can consider this as pre-built shader networks with specific shaders already connected to the Arnold Beauty port. For example, if I create a standard surface shader from the Surface submenu, then double click on it and open its shader network, you notice we have a regular Arnold shader network with a standard surface shader connected to its beauty port. One quick tip: to open a network editor, you don't have to double click on the material and click on this open network editor. Instead, simply middle click on any shader or material and that will open up its shader network directly. Now let's take a closer look at the shader network itself. The menu bar is up here with some handy options. On the left side, we have the material preview and the shader tree. Here you can look at all the Arnold shaders and nodes. We'll be going through most of them in this section. Here you can find standard surface, hair, car paint, and so many others. In the middle, we have the work area. This is where you connect your nodes together and make shaders. And on the right side, you have your properties or attributes window. When you select a node, its attributes will be visible there. So you can adjust them if you wanted to. In the shader tree, you can search for shaders or just look through until you find your shader. In this case, let's look for a standard surface shader and drag it to the work area. As it is the first shader, automatically it will be connected to the beauty port. Now I can select the standard surface shader and adjust its attributes. For example, change its base color from white to blue. In the shader tree, I can search for a simple noise node and drag it to the work area. Now its parameters are visible in the attributes window. I want to use this noise as the base color for the standard surface shader. So we need to connect the output data of the noise to the standard surface shader. Simply click and hold on the circle that says output. Now drag it on top of this blue input section of the standard surface shader node and release the mouse. And now you can choose which parameter you want to be controlled by the noise. That parameter for us is the base color. And that's it. Now, if I change color 1 to red and color 2 to blue, the material preview will adjust accordingly. If I wanted to see the noise shader itself in the preview and on the geometry that has this shader network applied to, we simply connect the noise shader to the beauty port or set the noise shader as the beauty. For now, let's connect the standard surface shader node to the beauty port. Another way to add nodes and shaders to the work area is by using the Control Tab shortcut. So if I press Control Tab, we get this little window where we can search for any node. Let's search for a color correct node. Just type in color. The second result is color correct node. Use your arrow keys to select that entry and press enter. Now we have a color correct node that can be used after any RGBA output. In the shader tree, let's look for an image node, and that is the node we use to load textures into the shader network. So let's add one to the work area, and now we are prompted to select a texture. Let's select this parquet texture and connect it to the base color of the standard surface shader instead of the noise node. Now let's say I want to use a black and white version of this texture to control the specular roughness of the standard surface shader. So connect the output of the image to the input of the color correct node. To see what the color correct node is doing, we can connect it to the beauty port. I simply want to set the saturation to 0, and this will turn the image into a black and white one. And now that we have this new texture, we can connect the output of the color correct node to the specular roughness input of the standard surface shader, and connect the standard surface shader back to the beauty port again. A very handy shortcut would be a one that connects the selected node to the beauty port. To see all the available shortcuts, simply press Alt and W, and you see a list of all the available shortcuts. One sets the selected shader as the beauty shader. So if I select the color correct node and press Alt W and 1, it will be set as the beauty shader. Now let's create a simple plane and assign this shader to it. Now, how can we display a specific shader or texture in the viewport? Let's say I want to see a preview of this parquet shader or parquet texture in the viewport. In the shader network editor under the beauty port, we have a viewport port as well. So let's connect the texture to that port. And now it becomes visible in the viewport, even though the preview quality is not that great. But if you double click on any Arnold shader to open up the material editor, you can change the texture preview size in the viewport. Let's set the texture preview size to 2K. Now it looks sharp in the viewport. The shortcut to connect a node to the viewport is Alt W and 3. Let's take a quick look at the menus up here. From the file menu, you can import shaders from AS or Material X files. AS stands for Arnold Scene Source, that will be discussed later on. Or you can export your existing shaders in the network editor to AS or Material X files. From the Edit menu, you can use this Align tool to have a tidier layout of your nodes. Delete unused shaders removes all the shaders from the network which are not connected to any output port like beauty or viewport. We also have this auto file browser when creating an image shader. When enabled, the file browser pops up automatically when a new image shader is added to the network. And if disabled, you need to add the image shader first and then use this browse button in the image shader properties to load the desired texture. View menu lets you hide or show the shader list, attributes window, and detach the material preview. Instead of the shader list, you can use the Control Tab function, and if the attributes window is disabled, the selected node attributes will be shown in the Cinema 4D's Attribute Manager, and this allows you to customize your layout to your liking. Preset menu is very handy to create presets from your existing networks and then load them later on if needs be. Let's say I'm happy with the current network and I want to save out a preset off of it. In the preset menu, we have two options: save preset, which saves the entire network and all the nodes in it as a preset, or you can select the nodes that you want to save as a preset and choose save preset from selection. In this case, I want to save a preset for the entire network. So choose save preset. Click on this new button, name your preset whatever you want, and press OK. Now I can delete all of these nodes in my network editor, and from the presets menu, load that preset that we just saved out and connect the standard surface shader to the beauty port. And if you wanted to, you can delete a preset using this delete preset function. In texture menu, you can use this load texture function to load not one specific texture but an entire folder. For example, in the text folder, there is a subfolder called shader ball that contains like 20 textures. And if I want to load them all at once, I can go to the texture menu and click on this load texture option. And now select the folder and press OK. And now all of the available textures in that folder are loaded into the network through image shaders, and we can connect them to any other node. Next, we have write texture, which allows you to write out the modifications of a texture like UV transform, color correction, mix, and so on. For example, in this case, we color corrected the parquet texture to make a black and white version of it. And if I wanted to save that modification out as another texture, I can select the color correction node and use this write to texture function and save out the new texture. In the texture menu, we have also this show histogram that opens up a histogram view on the right side. And now you can connect any texture to the histogram port and see the histogram info for that texture. And that's it. Now, there are still lots of tips and tricks about the shader network and how to use it in a more optimized way that we'll learn as we go through this section of the course, but I think this is enough for now. So in this video, we learned about Arnold Shader Network. See you in the next one.